Yo, 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 what up, peeps? This is Maddie here on Just for Fun, and I'm very excited about this Artifact Storm brew in Modern. And how I came up with this, I was looking through the BFZ spoiler, and the first card that really jumped out at me was Herald of Kozilek. I'm like, oh my god, this card is insane. Anything that lets you cheat on mana can be broken in some fashion, and I set about trying to, break the card in Modern. And I realized, colorless can doesn't just mean Eldrazi, also means artifacts. So what can we do to make like the Storm deck in Modern using artifacts? And so this is what I came up with. It's by all means not the be all end all perfect version. Russell, my buddy, and I are working on it, and we're going to see how far we can push this. But I do think I I, I know you're gonna tell me I'm crazy and I'm wrong, but I do think this is just a few tweaks off. Just like some pro looking at it off from being a great Modern deck. Think this might be a fringe strategy at least that could go somewhere, because Pyromancer Ascension Storm is really powerful because it's fast and consistent. But what this does for you is it's consistent. It gives up a little of the speed for a lot more resiliency. So this is a lot harder to break up because there's so much redundancy in the deck, and you can, if you somehow get thrown off for a turn, you can go off the next turn, and you'll see in the matches that we do that a few times. And because of the way the cards work, you can actually interact way more than you can in a traditional Pyromancer's Storm deck. So the engine of the deck is Herald and an oldie but a goodie Ethereum Sculptor. By the way, this deck is also very, very inexpensive, which is cool. If you have the lands, of course, that helps. But almost every card in this costs nothing. Since they reprinted Hercules, it's down to like 3 tickets, give or take. At one point, it was 60 before they reprinted it. So, Herald and Sculptor make your artifacts cost 1 less. So these 15 artifacts we have here are all 2 mana face value that draw you a card. So if you have one of each or 2 of one of these engine cards, all these become free, and you draw through your deck, and that's how the deck works. So if you run out of them, you can bounce them back to your hand with Hercules or Retract to cast them again and continue drawing. And how you kill your opponent is by having Molten Nursery in play, another BFZ card, or by Grape Shot, with the cool art the old-fashioned way. So, some interesting things to note about the deck. 20 lands. 20 lands, pretty light on lands, and you do need to hit your land drops every turn. The fastest I've gone off is like turn 4. Is not super fast. I mean, maybe theoretically it's possible to go off sooner than that, but I don't think so. Yeah, maybe with a nut draw you could go off on turn 3, but it's unlikely. So Academy Ruins is there to bounce stuff back to your hand, on top of your library. Now, what's the point of this? Well, if they murder your Sculptor, you can get the Sculptor back, to refix your engine. If you want to make sure you have another cantrip on top to keep going off, you can do that with Ruins. There'll be a lot of times where you're discarding to hand size, and so you end up pitching a whole bunch of these things. Maybe that library or whatever that card is called, the tower that lets you have as many cards in your hand as you want. Maybe that's a good thing for this deck. Actually, that would be pretty sweet. Maybe I should throw a couple in there because most of your cards are colorless, and you have pretty good fixing in blue-red. So mana is probably not an issue. So something to think about. Interesting note with Hercules, this targets a player, so it happens to be a fantastic hoser for playing against Affinity. The very first match I played with this deck was against Affinity, and I raped them, but that was because I have 4 main deck Hercules Recall, and that's really hard for them to beat. Plus, all their dudes are 1 toughness, and Molten Nursery targets creatures or players. So, when you're going off with this, unlike you know, those enter the battlefield, what's it called, creature ones, this helps you 187 a bunch of creatures. So it helps you stay alive, play small ball while you're, you know, building up your board to go off. Retract and Hercules are both instants. Retract becomes pretty good defensively as a way to save your dudes. So if they point a bolt at your sculptor, you can cast Retract and save it in response. You can block with your sculptors and retract or recall to save life. Also, obviously, these allow you to continue going off because they bounce all the artifacts back to your hand, and then you can recast them. The artifacts are mostly there to draw you cards, but Vile's ability can and has been relevant to stall opponent's big dude from killing you for a turn. And Prophetic Prism does allow you to fix your mana. Having 4 main deck is nice, so it does allow you to be kind of greedy with the mana base. So, you know, maybe I will play you know, some more colorless lands. We'll see. We'll see what happens as the build develops. This is pretty early on. I don't usually record with a deck until it's really done. This is still being tweaked. Point of the Spirit Guides is to cast Grape Shot because you want to be able to tap out of your lands to on the turn you're going off to maybe play the second Sculptor or Herald, or maybe you need to retract or recall your artifacts, and so you end up being tapped out, and this allows you to go off sooner. If you can draw 2 of these, it lets you cast Grape Shot for 0, basically by exiling them from your hand, and it's a good way to finish your opponent off. Molten Nurseries do stack, so if you have 2 or 3 of these in play, which you'll see in the videos, it gets pretty disgusting when all these artifacts become 0 mana, draw a card, Arc Lightning. That becomes pretty nuts. Something else to remember is that these are in fact creatures, so you can get in there and attack and block with them. 2-4 for 3, really pretty good defensive creature, allow you to stall while you're going off. This sideboard is a budget sideboard, so it's not totally all set up. So originally these Devastation Tides were main, so I had more of the retract recall effect, but turns out I don't need more than 8 of that. In fact, I might even go down to 7 on those, because you don't typically need 2. It's nice to have 2 so you could burn one for one of the other little tricky effects, but don't really need that. So I just threw this together, a couple dismembers. You know, Devastation Tide can beat like enchantments and stuff like that. Same with Echoing Truth is there to board in against hate, so you can bounce whatever their hate card is. Relics, obvious, against Graveyard. Defense Grid against like Delver and such, things that are going to fight on the axis of counter magic. Sun Droplet for burn, and Orbs of Warding also for burn and aggressive decks. You know, these artifacts all costing very little makes it nice with the reduction effects, so pretty sweet. Anyway, if I were building this with no budget in mind, there would be Blood Moons. There will be Blood Moons. There would be Pact of Negation. There might be Ensnaring Bridge. I don't know. So we'll see. You know, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I hope you love it. I love this deck. I had so much fun making it and playing with it. I hope you enjoy the videos. Peace.